Hi everybody, welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles and this is our TNA show for the week, and let's jump right in. First we have the Aces and Eights touting their swerve job from last week, which brings out Anderson, challenges Bully Ray. Stipulations being, if Anderson loses, he quits TNA. If Bully Ray loses, he disbands the Aces and Eights. I expect Aces and Eights to be disbanded, however, I've thought that a few different times during this run. The only way I see Bully winning is if they do a Midnight Rider, Dusty Rhodes kind of angle with Mr. Anderson. Don't see it happening. I see Aces and Eights finally being vanquished and out of TNA, which leads us to our next match. Anderson has an open challenge for either Bischoff or Nuts. Nuts takes up the challenge, loses to Anderson. We'll see a little bit later where that ties in with the story going for this, how he's trying to dismantle the team. Speaking of teams, we have one half of the best tag team in TNA, Christopher Daniels versus Joseph Park. Daniel gets a win after a punt to the nether regions, aka the lower abdominal area, as said by our great friend Gorilla Monsoon. I don't know anybody that's a wrestling fan that isn't entertained by Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian. I think they're top notch, head and shoulders above anybody else. I just think there's two of the best that TNA has to offer, and again, they prove it over and over again. We get he gets the win over Park. Hopefully this leads to, Park comes out a little bit later, and we'll talk about that later on, and hopefully this will lead to something different, which we'll talk, again, like I said, I'll talk about that in a bit. But going off of that, we have a handicap match. Nora Farnham and Dewey Barnes versus Ethan Carter III. If you're not familiar with the names, basically these are the only two guys that EC3 has wrestled since coming to TNA. Picks up the win, hits the face lock driver on both of them. I think once we start seeing the level of competition step up for Mr. Carter, that he'll really shine. I think he's got the it factor, no pun on Bobby Roode. I think he's got that something that's going to make him a star. He just needs some people to build off of. Going forward, I think we'll see it. And then next, we seen his aunt, Dixie Carter, who announces Robert Roode and James Storm in a bull rope match for next week's show. Samoa Joe and Magnus in a Falls Count Anywhere. All again on the ongoing world title picture, world title tournament, to replace the fired AJ Styles. The guys all get a little bit of mic time, challenge each other, basically say what they have to say, lay each other challenges, which brings up into our next match, Gail Kim's open challenge, which this week is answered by Hannah Blossom, puts up a decent return, loses to Gail Kim, the superior wrestler. I think we're going to see a couple weeks of this, someone like a SoCal Val or people of that level challenging Gail Kim and losing pretty clean before either we see a debut of a newer wrestler coming in, someone, or a returning wrestler, someone like Awesome Kong, or even a Lady Tapa turn when she says, let me have a shot at the title. But the payoff's going to be something much bigger than what it is right now. I would say it probably will go to January. I think they have the Genesis pay-per-view in January, where we'll actually see the real payoff on who it'll be, whether it be Angelina Love, Awesome Kong, Lady Tapa, someone we're not even thinking of, Winter. Could be anybody. They could be bringing in anybody. Speaking of bringing in, let's go to our question of the week from last week. Now, our question was, which celebrity has, over the years that TNA has brought in, has helped the most? We have some answers from our friends before I get into my own. The first is from our friend Lord Bogglesworth. As far as celebrity appearances, ago, the Macho Man Randy Savage return against Jeff Jarrett was an awesome moment in TNA history. I'm gonna let that one slide. He is a wrestler, and I was thinking more of an actual outside celebrity, but he really didn't come in and wrestle much. I think he was only there 4 different times, and I don't think he wrestled a match. If he did, he wrestled only 1. But it was a good appearance. It gave him, obviously I'm a Macho fan, it gave him a little bit of credibility, especially at the time when they were seriously lacking it. So it is a good choice. It helped move the ratings, in my opinion, which overall is what you want. The next answer is from our friend, Metal Ruler 45. I know over the years TNA has had a lot of NFL and MMA guys come in for appearances, but the one that stands out the most, even though I can't stand the show, was JWoww from Jersey Shore. That got TNA a lot of press. It also had Angelina Love, Velvet Sky, and Lacey Von Erich in it, so that helped. That was a great appearance, and I agree, it did bring a lot of the press. It started off the Robbie E character. A lot of good happened from that. Mine is a little bit in the early history of TNA, when it was just getting on its ground. And at the time, it was the early 2000s. They brought in Toby Keith for an appearance, and I think he's done a couple appearances since then, but specifically talking about his first appearance. At the time, and I'm not a country music fan at all, at the time, Toby Keith was one of the hottest acts in all of music. He was selling out arenas. He had #1 hit after #1 hit after #1 album, Grammy Awards, Country Music Awards. He was on commercials for, I think it was Chevrolet commercials. Everywhere you turned, you seen Toby Keith. He was a major celebrity at the time. And here he is on TNA, messing around with Scott Hall. I thought it brought a lot of outside attention. I thought it brought the attention of the fan base that WWE does not cater to as much. Now you'll see, this week they're doing a country WWE Raw, country music themed. But over and over again, WWE has shied away from catering to the Southern wrestling fan. It was something that WCW did, NWA's done in the past. They're more of a Northeast-based promotion, and they cater to that. Even though they're global, they still cater to that style. I think this helped TNA grab a little bit of a foothold with the Southern wrestling fan that doesn't particularly like the WWE style. That like the WCW, that like the NWA, that like Smoky Mountain Wrestling. It's a little bit different style of wrestling. It's all the same ball of wax, but it's basically like saying, to make the comparison, in case you don't understand what I'm saying, or you're wondering why I'm saying WWE is a different style, think about it like this. Let's say you like rock and roll music. You got different kinds of rock music. You got your folk rock, which is basically acoustic guitars. You got your straight up rock and roll music, something like the Beatles, Elvis, Bryan Adams, stuff of that nature, that's just straightforward rock and roll. You got your heavy metal with your blaring guitars, your lightning speed on the drums. You got your punk rock, which is basically all about anarchy. And you got different styles. All of it's rock and roll music. However, there's different ways to present it. The WWE has their specific way that presents it, and it's very successful, don't get me wrong. TNA, at that time, was promoting and showing a different product within the same style of genre. So it would be like, let's say WWE is your power pop, rock and roll music, Bryan Adams, Bruce Springsteen, while TNA was over here, they were your southern country rock, with guys like, Leonard Skinner and 38 Special, Molly Hatchet. And I know some of you younger people have no clue any of the names of the bands I just mentioned. But some of you older guys will get it, and girls will get it, and understand where I'm coming from. And I think that's what Toby Keith helped to bring in. Now, coming off of that, our question of the week for this week is, with Gail Kim's Open Challenge, who would you like to see step up to the plate and accept it. Let us know what you think. Hit us up on Twitter, hit us up on Facebook, put it down where? Down there in the comments. Now going back to the show, we had Joseph Park coming out, talking about him and his brother Abyss. Laid out an open challenge for Abyss next week. I kind of want to see where they go with this. I don't know what the payoff is going to be. I wonder if they're going to do that same thing like they did last year with the fake Abyss. Who knows? Maybe Abyss doesn't show, maybe Park doesn't show. The good thing about it is it's keeping me intrigued, which is something that the Joseph Park character has not done for quite a while. So it's a good plus going forward. Coming off of that, we had our main event tonight. Austin Aries versus Kurt Angle in a submission match. Kurt picks up the win after a very well fought match. I thought that this was awesome. So far, the two matches we've seen, the first one, the Full Metal Mayhem, I was a little bit underwhelmed. This match, I was a lot happier with, and I thought was a lot better match. We got Kurt moving forward. Next week we'll see the other two, the Rude vs. Storm and Joe vs. Magnus. After the match, we have Anderson coming out with Garrett Bischoff, who he accosted in the back earlier. Pile drives him on the stage. Now, if you remember back, we'll talk about something later. I think he was systematically taking out aces and eights. I think him beating Nux in the beginning and, let's say, injuring Garrett Bischoff limits their interference next week. And as we all know, in a straight-up match, the way it's being booked, Bully Ray's not going to win. Unless Taz helps or a new aces and eights manager. New aces and eights person comes out and helps. Well, let's get right into the ratings for the show. Now, if you've seen it before, we rate the shows on a 1 to 5 scale. 1's a Jesse Goddard, 2's a Garrett Bischoff, 3's a James Storm, 4's a Christopher Daniels, 5's a Bobby Roode. I'm going to give this a 2 at Garrett Bischoff. The main event was good. Daniels and Park was good for what it was. The knockout match was okay. Anderson versus Nux wasn't really great at all. Ethan Carter III, I'd like to see him get some better competition. Basically leaves it at 2. There's a lot of room to improve off of it. Hopefully when they come back next week, a live show from the Impact Zone or the new Impact Zone, whatever they're going to call their new base of operations in Orlando, it'll be a much better show and a much better product. But basically, that's all I have to say about that. My name is George Coles, and this has been Heel Heat.